Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Look, if you've ever felt really disconnected in a relationship, chances are you've probably looked up the wildly popular five love languages, right? I mean, millions of copies sold, countless online quizzes taken, and yet couples still find themselves sitting in therapist offices totally stuck. So today, we're going to look at a genuinely fascinating clinical perspective. We're going to uncover why this famous framework actually fails to save struggling relationships so much of the time and what you actually need to do instead. Think about the couples who know their love languages perfectly. You know the ones I'm talking about, they've literally got their quiz results pinned to the fridge. One knows they need words of affirmation, the other knows they need acts of service, and yet they remain totally trapped in conflict, which really begs the question, if this framework is so intuitive and gives us such a clear map, why on earth isn't it enough to fix the disconnection? Well, here is the massive paradigm shift. It all comes down to this. You absolutely cannot apply a cognitive solution to a biological problem. The love languages, they're merely a cognitive tool. They require your rational brain to process information and execute a planned behavior. But relational distress, that is fundamentally a biological problem rooted deep, deep within your nervous system. When your relationship feels threatened, your body just takes over, long before your conscious mind even has a chance to weigh in. Let's get into section 1, the love language illusion. So to understand why this illusion completely breaks down, we have to look at the brain when your relationship is in distress. Say you're in the middle of a harsh argument or reeling after a betrayal. Your amygdala, which is basically the brain's threat detector, essentially hijacks the entire system. It completely shuts down your prefrontal cortex. And that's the logical part of your brain that actually remembers your partner's love language. Trying to thoughtfully apply a love language to someone in this state, well, it's kind of like trying to hand a quiz result to someone whose house is currently on fire. It's just literally impossible for them to receive it. Which brings us to section 2, biology beats cognitive solutions. Enter what we call the gasoline principle. This is fascinating. If your partner's nervous system is stuck in a fight or flight response, their body is actively, frantically scanning for danger. If you try to offer them their love language in that exact moment, say physical touch or sweet words of affirmation, it doesn't feel like love to them. To a dysregulated nervous system, a sudden hug may actually feel like physical restraint. Sweet words, they might sound like manipulation or dismissal. You think you're putting out the fire, but because their biology isn't safe, you are actually pouring gasoline right on it. During an attachment panic, our biology entirely dictates our reactions, and partners typically fall into one of two biological profiles. First, you have the protester. Their nervous system floods with panic, causing them to fight for connection by pursuing and often criticizing. Then you have the withdrawer. Their nervous system basically collapses. They retreat and go totally silent just to protect themselves from shame. This dynamic traps couples in what's known as a waltz of pain. The protester demands to be heard, which triggers the withdrawer to shut down further, which just makes the protester pursue even harder. Love languages are completely powerless against this biological waltz unless we address the nervous system first. All right, moving right along to section 3, the nervous system runs things. This is where Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory is a total game changer. It breaks everything down into 3 biological states. First up is ventral vagal. This is when you feel safe, open, and socially engaged. And guess what? This is the only state where love languages actually work. The second is sympathetic. That's the fight or flight state where love languages just feel like noise, or worse, manipulation. And the third is dorsal vagal, which is a total shutdown where love languages don't even register at all. So before you ever try to speak your partner's love language, you have to assess which state they're in. Nervous system regulation is the absolute non-negotiable prerequisite for love. You know, a huge trap of the love language framework is that it can so easily become a weapon. You never speak my language, so you're failing me. right? We've all heard that. To escape this, we need to focus on the third chair. Imagine a chair sitting right between you and your partner. It represents the shared relationship organism, the US. Instead of a you versus me battle over who isn't speaking whose language, the mindset has to shift to us versus the dynamic that is trying to kill our connection. You have to work together to protect that third chair. Let's shift gears now to section 4, fiat love versus proof. We really have to recognize the difference between fiat love and proof of work. Fiat love is honestly like printing money with absolutely nothing backing it. It's cheap, it's just cognitive promises, empty apologies, or saying, I'll do better next time without any actual behavioral change. Proof of work, on the other hand, is costly. It requires literal metabolic effort, swallowing your own ego to truly understand your partner's reality, and taking consistent, verifiable action. Think of it this way: love languages tell you the currency your partner prefers. Proof of work is the incredibly difficult mining process that gives that currency its actual value. I absolutely love this quote because there is a profound truth here that we just have to accept. Love is not a feeling you have, it is the work you do. Your partner's nervous system is basically a deeply embedded distributed ledger. It records every single moment of safety, every broken promise, every emotional withdrawal. And that biological ledger, it does not update just because you bought flowers on a random Tuesday. It only updates when it registers a consistent, verifiable pattern of work and safety over time, because love is the work you do. So, what does this work actually look like in the real world? Well, the core elements of proof of work start with transparency over time. It's consistency, following through reliably so your partner's nervous system can finally relax its vigilance. It looks like verifiable actions, for example, literally taking over an invisible household task permanently without asking your partner to manage you doing it. And it's the sheer metabolic effort it takes to regulate your own emotions during a really hard conversation, so your partner doesn't have to manage them for you. And finally, section 5, regulation before communication. Okay, here's your practical everyday nervous system toolkit. Step 1, before you even attempt to communicate or use a love language, you got to check your own pulse and breath. If your heart is racing, you need to take a break. Step 2 is co-regulation, sitting together and just physically syncing your breathing for a few minutes to pull yourselves back into that safe ventral vagal state. Step 3, use a soft startup to bring up issues without instantly triggering their defense systems. And step 4, a quick body scan check-in, literally just asking your partner where they are on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know if they're even biologically available for connection right then. Understanding this repair timeline is perhaps one of the absolutely most critical things about relational biology. After a conflict triggers dysregulation, there is a necessary regulation phase, and it takes about 20 to 60 minutes for the nervous system to truly settle down. You can't rush it. Once both partners have regulated, you enter the repair window. And in this crucial window, a simple, compassionate act of turning towards your partner, literally just asking if they're okay, is infinitely more powerful than 100 perfect love language expressions. Repairing the rupture is what builds ultimate safety. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to remember this. Wanting to learn your partner's love language is a beautiful, beautiful starting point. But please don't just rely on a cognitive quiz to save your connection. You have to do the deeper metabolic work to prove to their biology that they are truly safe with you. So ask yourself right now, is your partner's nervous system waiting for a promise, or is it waiting for proof? If you want to work on this for real, try Figlet, my AI relationship coaching app. You can start for free, no credit card needed, at figlet.empathy.com.